I'm going to be straight with you right from the start. I have been a mechanic for over 20 years. I have watched thousands of people walk into dealerships, sign their names onto 60-month loans for boring mid-range crossovers, while right across the street, 6 luxury SUVs were sitting on dealer lots collecting dust, and nobody was even asking for the price. 6 SUVs built like military tanks, indestructible frames, engines that run 500,000 miles, real leather, real wood trim, heated and cooled seats, massage functions, things that brand new $40,000 cars do not even offer. Original sticker price, $65,000 to $90,000. Every single one of them. What they sell for right now? Under $10,000. All of them. And the last one on this list, number 1, is the one where customers ask me to repeat the price twice because they think they heard me wrong. If you are shopping for an SUV this year, do not make a single decision before you watch this whole video, because what I am about to show you is going to completely change the way you look at the used car market forever. Here is something that nobody at a dealership will ever explain to you. A luxury SUV loses 80% of its value in 10 years, not because it breaks, but because the first owner got bored. Rich people flip them the moment a new model hits the showroom floor. The real reason they are so cheap? It is the badge. When a brand falls out of favor, resale value collapses. Even though the engineering remains rock solid, these vehicles were built on platforms designed for punishment. We are talking about the same bones used for disaster relief and African dirt roads. They are not fragile machines. They are workhorses in expensive suits. The market is practically giving them away because the average buyer does not know what is actually underneath. Once you understand this game, you will see the used car market in a whole new way. SUV number 6, the forgotten giant, Infiniti QX56, 2008 to 2010. Let me start with the one that makes the least sense on paper, the Infiniti QX56. Full size, body on frame, 8 seats wrapped in quilted leather, 400 horsepower, and a ride so smooth that passengers in the back genuinely forget they are inside a truck. This thing was $80,000 when it rolled off the lot. Right now, you can find clean examples for $7,000 to $9,000. Why does nobody buy it? Because Infiniti has completely fallen out of the conversation. A decade ago, Infiniti was a legitimate player in the full-size luxury SUV segment. Today, when people hear Infiniti, they either think of the G35 from a Fast and Furious movie, or they do not think of it at all. That brand invisibility has destroyed the resale value in a way that has absolutely nothing to do with the vehicle itself. Here's what people are missing. The QX56 is not really an Infiniti, not where it counts. Underneath that badge sits the Nissan Patrol Y62 platform. If you know anything about off-road vehicles, you just sat up straighter. The Nissan Patrol is one of the most battle-tested utility platforms on the planet. In the Middle East, in Australia, in sub-Saharan Africa, these platforms rack up 400,000 and 500,000 kilometers on roads that would destroy an average SUV in 6 months. And they keep going. The 5.6-liter VK56 VD V8 in the QX56, it produces a full 400 horsepower and 413 pound-feet of torque. This is a proven, refined powertrain that has been in production across multiple generations. Replacement parts are found everywhere across the globe. Any competent shop can work on it. Transmission fluid service runs about $220. Brake pads all around, roughly $380. These are standard Nissan-based repair costs, dressed up in Infiniti clothing. The only thing to watch on these Village is the air suspension on higher mileage examples. If it is showing problems, a conversion to traditional coil springs Village runs about $1,200 Village, and you are done with it forever. For a full-size V8 luxury SUV Village with Land Cruiser level bones, that is not a deal breaker. That is a negotiating chip. But if you think the QX56 is undervalued, the next one on this list is going to make your head spin. SUV number 5, the Honda nobody respects. Acura MDX 2014 to 2016. A customer brought in a 2015 Acura MDX, $16,000, 82,000 miles. She was nervous about luxury SUV repair costs. I put it on the lift for a full inspection. I checked the suspension, brakes, and pulled codes. You know what I found? It only needed an air and cabin filter. I told her, come back at 105,000 miles. The Acura MDX uses Honda's J35 V6, Naturally aspirated, no turbochargers, no complexity. It is about as close to bulletproof as an engine gets. The MDX also comes with Honda's super handling all-wheel drive system. This is not a standard all-wheel drive setup that just splits power between the axles. It actively distributes torque side to side between the rear wheels based on cornering load. In the rain, in the snow, on a tight highway on-ramp, this system makes the MDX drive in a way that genuinely surprises people who expect a 3-row family SUV to feel sluggish. The value math here is almost offensive. A clean 2015 Acura MDX with around 90,000 miles trades between $8,000 and $11,000 right now. A 2015 Honda Pilot with similar miles, basically the same platform, less refinement, smaller engine output, trades for more. The badge penalty on the Acura is so severe that the luxury version of the same vehicle costs less than the mainstream version. Think about that for a second. The next SUV on this list was built in Sweden, engineered like a Volt, and is currently selling for a price that would make the original engineers genuinely upset. SUV number 4, the Swedish Volt, Volvo XC90 2007 to 2012. When I tell people about the first-generation Volvo XC90, the reaction is always the same. They picture a boxy wagon from a 1980-something safety commercial. They do not picture a 7-seat luxury SUV with a turbocharged inline-6 real wood inlays and a suspension tuned by engineers who believed that a car should protect its occupants, like a Volt protects its contents. The XC90 is ignored for one reason. Volvo does not carry status in the United States, the way Mercedes or BMW does. When you tell someone you drive a Volvo, they think responsible, they think safe. They do not think expensive. And that perception gap has kept prices on first-generation XC90s in a basement. That makes no sense given what the vehicle actually is. The 2007 to 2012 XC90 with the 3.2-liter inline-6 is the version to buy. It is naturally aspirated, straightforward to work on, and has a well-documented reliability record. In the enthusiast community, avoid the turbo 4-cylinder versions, not because they are terrible, but because the inline-6 is smoother, more refined, and ages more gracefully with higher mileage. Interior quality on these is something else entirely. Volvo built the XC90 cabin with Scandinavian minimalism, no excessive buttons. The leather is thick, the headliner stays put, the switchgear feels solid. These cabins age gracefully in a way that German competitors do not. You can find a clean 2010 Volvo XC90 for $5,000 to $8,000. That is a 7-seat luxury SUV that was $38,000 new, with a safety record that still impresses and a premium interior. The only reason it is this cheap is the badge does not signal wealth. If you are buying a vehicle to drive, not to perform, that is irrelevant. This next vehicle shares its soul with a legendary off-road platform, one of the most legendary off-road platforms ever built. SUV number 3, the Land Cruiser in a suit. Lexus GX460, 2010 to 2013. I want you to picture something. A vehicle built on the Toyota Land Cruiser Prado platform. Body-on-frame construction, a real 2-speed transfer case, a locking center differential, a 4.6-liter V8 engine. Used across the Land Cruiser lineup and the Tundra. Also found in the Lexus LS 460, an engine that owners on dedicated forums have pushed past 320,000 miles on original internals. Now put Lexus leather on the seats, add real wood trim, add a Mark Levinson sound system, add heated and cooled front seats, a rear entertainment system, and elite ride quality. It makes you forget the body-on-frame truck platform. That is the Lexus GX460. iSeeCars rates it as the #1 most reliable luxury midsize SUV, not top 5, #1. So why is it on this list? Why is it selling for prices that should not be possible given what it is? 2 reasons. First, people hear Lexus and think of the ES350, a comfortable, conservative sedan for people who want reliability without excitement. They do not think of a legitimate off-road capable truck. That doubles as a luxury daily driver. Second, fuel economy. The GX460 gets about 15 miles per gallon in the city. In a world where people are sensitive about fuel costs, that number scares buyers away. And it has pushed prices down in a way that creates an extraordinary opportunity for anyone who can live with the fuel cost. A 2012 Lexus GX460 with 80,000 miles. trades between $14,000 and $18,000. A 2012 Toyota 4Runner TRD off-road with similar miles is often more expensive. You are paying less for the vehicle with the V8, the luxury interior, the superior on-road refinement, and the identical off-road capability. The only reason the math works out this way is badge perception. This is as close to a guaranteed long-term value as the used car market offers. But the next two on this list are where the real money is left on the table. SUV number 2, the American Throne, Lincoln Navigator, 2007 to 2013. There is a certain type of person who buys a Lincoln Navigator. They want space, they want presence. They want to pull up somewhere and have people move out of the way. The Navigator has been doing that since 1998, and the 2007 to 2013 generation does it better than any of them. Full-size body-on-frame, 5.4-liter V8, seating for 8 in what can only be described as a living room on wheels. The second row seats recline to near flat. The third row folds flat into the floor. The interior dimensions are genuinely shocking the first time you sit inside one. And the sound system in the upper trim levels, the THX certified audio system, is something that people who have never sat in a Navigator simply do not expect. Why is it cheap? Simple. It says Lincoln on the hood. Lincoln has spent the better part of 2 decades trying to convince American buyers that it is a serious luxury brand, and struggling to close that sale. That battle has been brutal for resale values. A 2011 Lincoln Navigator in good condition with 100,000 miles sells for $6,000 to $9,000. The Ford Expedition sitting on the same chassis with the same engine, less interior refinement, and no luxury pretensions sells for more. The mechanical reality is straightforward. The 5.4-liter 3-valve V8 has one known issue. The spark plugs can break off in the cylinder head on higher mileage engines if they were not changed on schedule. Before you buy, ask for spark plug service records. If they were changed at the right interval, you have nothing to worry about. If the history is unclear, negotiate the price down and budget for the job. Everything else on this platform is well documented, widely understood, and inexpensive to maintain. $6,000 to $9,000 for a full-size V8 luxury SUV that seats 8 people in genuine comfort. The only thing keeping this price where it is the word Lincoln on the hood. And now we arrive at the one that makes even experienced car people do a double take. SUV number 1, the $90,000 secret. Mercedes-Benz GL 450, 2007 to 2012. This is the one. This is the SUV that, when I show people the asking price, on my phone, they physically hand it back to me and say there must be a mistake. The Mercedes-Benz GL 450, full-size, 3-row, 7-seat luxury SUV. 4.7-liter V8 producing 335 horsepower. Air suspension that reads the road surface and adjusts in milliseconds. A cabin that Mercedes-Benz engineers spent years tuning to be quieter at highway speed than the S-Class sedan. Massaging front seats. A panoramic sunroof the size of a small apartment window. Burled walnut trim throughout. A Harman Kardon sound system with 14 speakers. This was a $90,000 vehicle when it was new. The people who bought these were not making payments. They were writing checks. And right now, a 2010 Mercedes-Benz GL 450 with 80 to 100,000 miles sells for $7,000 to $10,000. I want you to sit with that number for a moment. $7,000 to $10,000 for a vehicle that costs $90,000 new. That is an 85% depreciation in 15 years on a vehicle that, mechanically, has a great deal of life left in it. Here is what the fearmongers get wrong about used Mercedes-Benz ownership. Yes, a neglected GL 450 is a financial disaster. I am not going to lie to you about that. Air suspension failures, ABC hydraulic issues on the wrong trim levels, deferred maintenance on the transmission. These are real concerns on neglected examples. But here is the thing. A well-maintained GL 450 is a completely different animal. The 4.7-liter M273 V8 is one of the most reliable engines Mercedes-Benz built in the 2000s. It is naturally aspirated, no turbos, no direct injection carbon buildup issues, straightforward to maintain by any competent independent European shop. The key is buying the right example. You want a GL 450, not the GL 550 with the supercharged V8, which adds complexity, not the GL 320 CDI diesel, unless you know exactly what you are doing. The 450 is the sweet spot. Stick with 2009 and newer. For the updated transmission calibration, look for documented service history from an independent Mercedes specialist, not a dealership. A pre-purchase inspection from a trusted shop is non-negotiable on this one. Spend $200 on the inspection, and it will either save you from a money pit or confirm that you are about to get the deal of your life. A 2010 BMW X5 with similar miles trades for $11,000 to $15,000. The running costs on that X5 over the next 5 years will bury the average buyer. A 2010 Cadillac Escalade with similar miles is $15,000 to $20,000 and does not come close to matching the interior refinement or the driving dynamics of the GL. The Mercedes is quieter, smoother, faster, and more luxurious than both of them, and it costs less to buy than either one. The only reason this vehicle is this cheap is fear. Fear of the badge. Fear of the Mercedes service department sticker shock. And that fear, and that irrational, uninformed fear, is your single greatest opportunity in the used luxury SUV market right now. All right, you have seen the 6 vehicles. Now, let me give you the information that separates smart buyers from people who end up with regrets. The first thing you check on any used luxury SUV is the air suspension. A lot of these vehicles came from the factory with air suspension because it delivers a genuinely better ride than traditional coil springs. The problem is that air suspension components are expensive to replace when they fail. Here is how you check it without any tools. When you arrive to look at the vehicle, get there early, before the seller has a chance to warm it up and park it level. Walk around all 4 corners and look at the ride height. Every corner should sit at the same height. If one corner is sagging or the rear end is sitting noticeably lower than the front, the air suspension is failing or already failed. That is a $2,000 conversation minimum. Use it to negotiate the price down significantly or walk away entirely. The second thing you check is the transmission fluid. Pull the dipstick if the vehicle has one, or have the seller run the vehicle to operating temperature and check the fluid while it is warm. Healthy transmission fluid is red or light pink and smells slightly sweet. Dark brown fluid that smells burnt means the transmission has been running hot and neglected. On a high-mileage luxury SUV, burnt transmission fluid is one of the most expensive warning signs you can find. Do not buy that vehicle at any price until you have had a transmission specialist evaluate it. The third thing is service history. For every vehicle on this list, a documented service history is worth more than low mileage. A 110,000-mile example with full service records from an independent specialist is a far better buy than an 80,000-mile example with no paperwork and a seller who says it was always dealer-maintained but cannot prove it. Ask specifically for oil change records, transmission service records, and any records showing air suspension work or replacements. Where do you find these vehicles? Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist are your best tools. You are specifically hunting for single-owner private listings. From retirees and professionals who bought these vehicles new, maintained them properly, and are selling because they are downsizing or switching to something newer. These sellers typically have all the records, drove gently, and kept the vehicle garaged. Avoid auction cars. Avoid large used car lots with no service history on file. The best deals on these vehicles come from people who genuinely cared about what they owned. You now know something that the overwhelming majority of SUV buyers will never figure out. The Infiniti QX56 gives you Nissan Patrol toughness at a price nobody can justify ignoring. The Acura MDX gives you Honda reliability with luxury refinement that costs less to maintain than the mainstream version of the same platform. The Volvo XC90 gives you a 7-seat Scandinavian Vault for the price of a decent used sedan. The Lexus GX460 gives you Land Cruiser bones wrapped in the most reliable luxury midsize SUV on the market. The Lincoln Navigator gives you a full-size American throne for less than the truck it shares its platform with. And the Mercedes-Benz GL450 gives you $90,000 luxury engineering for under $10,000. If you are smart enough to see past the fear that everyone else cannot get over. The market rewards people who do their homework. Every single one of these vehicles is cheap for one reason: perception. Not reliability, not engineering, not build quality. Perception. And now that you understand the gap between what people think these vehicles are and what they actually are, you have an advantage that most buyers will never have. Which one of these 6 would you actually put in your garage? Drop your answer in the comments. I read every single one. And if you want to know which luxury sedans the market is giving away for the same reasons, that video is on screen right now. I will see you in the next one.